going to take out that extra step because you'll be able to pull directly in from Dotloop.
Nothing is changing besides the fact that we're going to click Dotloop instead of DocuSign. So this is now just an alternative option. So we can go ahead and get started. Jana is sending me her Dotloop login so you guys can see the whole process. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay.
So more command.
All right, so I have come into command here. And the first thing that we're gonna do, just like we had to integrate DocuSign, you have to connect it. So this is, if you guys have already done this, hang tight. So you're gonna go to your settings. And you notice you're probably not gonna see your Dotloop account. Oh, hang on a second, it is connected.
In the top right.
Okay, so if you don't see Dotloop here, you're gonna have to go ahead and add more apps. So you're gonna click on this Connect More Apps button. It's gonna take you to the KW Marketplace, and we're gonna just search for Dotloop here. Once you find it, you'll click on the little icon and you're going to click Activate. Now, if you see a button that says Request, do not click that. You want to come up here to the top where it says your name and just click on your name again to kind of have it refresh. It's just recognizing you as the market center for some reason. So you can just come find your name at this top, in the top gray bar, verify that your name is selected. If not, it might say Jacksonville Beach, Jacksonville Southside. I don't know if it'll say Amelia Island for you guys up there, but just want to verify that it's your name. So it'll kind of just refresh the page and you can search for Dotloop again. If I could spell today. Still understood me. And you'll click that Activate button. Once you do that, it's going to literally walk you through the same steps. Well, first you have to go through this like formality of billing. So you'll just click continue. It is all free, so nothing's going to charge you. You'll agree to the terms, you'll place the order, and now it will integrate it all into command. However, you're going to get a pop-up that says log into Dotloop. So you'll follow the formalities, you're going to authorize it, and then you'll come back to your command and you'll just refresh. And then you should see everything pop up there. So you might come in and it'll say disconnected. You'll just click the connect account again and it'll connect it all. So once you've verified that your Dotloop is connected, just like your DocuSign, you can go ahead and get started. So just a refresher crash course, your database or the person who you are doing a transaction with has to be in your database. So if they're not, your first step is going to be to go to your contacts, add your contact, and just put their name, email, phone number, and then you'll create it. And once you've done that, you can now come to your opportunity to get started. So any questions on the connecting of Dotloop and making sure your contact is, your customer is in your contacts to get started before we move on to the next step? Actually, I don't have the chat up, so let me just double check. Perfect. All right, so again, this is going to look very familiar to you guys. We're going to create an opportunity. So you click the big blue button at the top. We're going to fill out all the information. Again, it's going to default your market center, default the owner, and your listing or your opportunity type is always going to be a listing. So if this is a buyer, you want to make sure you change it here because once you create in one pipeline, you cannot change the pipeline. You'd have to start over. So definitely pay attention here. Now we're going to search for your client or customer. And if you have a co-seller, you can put them in there as well, or this would be a co-buyer if we change that. Remember, for an opportunity name for a listing, you want to go ahead and put that listing's address. And then for the last half, it's really up to you if you want to put the customer's last name or not. We just have to ensure that we are putting the listing address for your wonderful MCAs to be able to find your opportunity to help you close the transaction and get paid. The next one is custom tags. This is an optional use for you. It could be a great way to track your business. So if you want to use custom tags such as referral, sphere, FSBO, someone had a good idea and did referral dash the person's last name so they could see how many referrals that person has given them. So it's just a great way to kind of look back over the year and see where the majority of your business has come from. Then we're going to put an estimated close date. Again, this is an optional thing. You can see there's not a red asterisk, but let's just say we're going to pick a random day. Anything you plug into this first page is editable. So this is not the end all be all. If you put your commission rate in wrong and need to change it, that can come back and be changed. If you don't know the listing price yet, you can hold off, but we're going to go ahead and plug one in there for now.
Ashley, can I add something real quick? So the estimated close date, something that we are finding out as we're doing the new commission requests. If you put in an estimated close date, sometimes on the commission request, it'll actually flip it back to that estimated close date. So just something to double check and make sure when you submit to your MCA.
Any other questions, guys, before I move on? Thanks, Megan, for that tidbit. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that till yesterday.
So the last part is going to be your opportunity phase and stage. I can guarantee you 9 out of 10 times you guys are plugging this in when it's becoming active. But if you have a cultivate stage, which means you're just nurturing the lead or your customer, maybe they haven't committed to anything. Appointment's pretty self-explanatory. You're scheduling an appointment to meet with them. And then the active stage, so you might, I don't know if this is a new feature or if Jana added this, but you can edit these stages, which is a whole nother topic for a whole nother day. But we'll go ahead and say we're in the showing status and we're going to create it. So by default, it's going to take you to the details page. So you can review and edit anything. Anytime you see a pencil, that means it's editable. So you have your seller's worksheet, your property address, the general information. And if you are on a team, I forgot to note this, in that last pop-up box, you might see an extra field that I didn't have that said assignees. So in this case, if you're on a team, you can add assignees to this opportunity, and it would allow the people that are attached as an assignee to also see this in their pipeline. A lot of features are coming out for teams. I know we haven't dived too much into that, but just in case you're on a team and you're seeing that extra field, I just wanted to clarify that as well. So the next step after you go to the details page, you have your documents tab. You always want to get in the good habit of picking your checklist first, because if you don't pick your checklist, you're not going to see anything.
It is true.
So if you're under buyer, this says consultation and it's going to be empty. So you would want to go to the middle tab if this was a buyer. But for listing, you're going to have all 3 checklists here. And now,
can I just clarify something? Just a frequently asked question that I get all the time. This is not where your documents are. This is simply a checklist. So on the left-hand side, those are broken down into steps of your checklist. So in the listing stage, what are your checklist items? In the under contract stage, what are your checklist items for compliance? And there is no way of deleting these lines. If something is not required, it's okay. Jen Marie will know that. So just make sure, most of my questions on this page are always either the list is not showing up or there's no documents in there. There's not supposed to be unless you add them in there. Okay. So just wanted to clarify.
And you can see under each of the documents names, if it's required, conditionally required, optional. So think of the documents tab as where you are going to go to find your documents, because we're going to go to that start transaction, but also where you're going to upload your final documents. Another really important note, do not go into Dotloop or DocuSign to start your transaction process. You must go through command first. Otherwise, the loop or the room, depending on which program you're choosing, will not sync and you will not be able to pull your final documents over. And we cannot start over. It's not like you can link an existing loop or an existing room. So just always start in command, start your opportunity, and then click this start a transaction button. So for those of you that have both your Dotloop and your DocuSign connected, you are now going to have this drop-down option to choose between the two. So I'm going to go ahead and click Dotloop. Let me see here. Click go to transaction. I'm going to sign in. And now it's created my loop for me, the exact same name as it was in command. And now everything should look the exact same to you guys. So does anyone have any questions about getting into Dotloop from command? No? So everything's the same, nothing's changed. You can browse for your templates, you can look for your documents, you're going to send for signatures exactly like you've known. And then once you have done that, let's say hypothetically, we've sent a document to be signed and it's come back signed. You would come back to command. Let's pretend the listing agreement got sent out. You're going to click add file. And now you're going to have the option for Dotloop. And it says there's no documents to display because I haven't gotten anything signed. But once something is signed, you'll start seeing all of the documents populate here. And same thing, you'll match the name and upload it, and it'll attach here for compliance. And once you've uploaded everything you needed to upload, you'd submit to Jen. Any questions?
Yvonne says, my computer sends me directly to DocuSign. I would potentially, it's not because if you aren't given that drop-down option, that could mean you have not connected Dotloop. If you're just selecting start a transaction, it's probably remembering in your browsing cookies that that's what you selected last time. So it might be defaulting to DocuSign. So it depends on what you're doing, but if you're clicking that drop-down, you should see both options. So just make sure you're doing that, and then you should be able to choose Dotloop. If not, then I need to ask you more questions and look at that.
I have a question.
Yes.
If I have active contracts going right now for buyers in my Dotloop, do I need to transport them over doing this step?
So compliance, you have to submit for compliance through command. So because you already created the loop, you won't be able to just drag them over from Dotloop. But what you'll have to do is create the opportunity for that buyer. And then when you get to compliance, you'll have to download those files and upload into command. So manually from your computer.
You'll see the manual option.
Okay.
Yeah, so for anyone that has existing Dotloop transactions that you did not start through command, all you're going to do is download. It's pretty simple, and then just upload. So just, go one by one so you can keep track. Or you could, I don't know if you export the entire loop, if it breaks it up, or if it's going to put it all into one.
It puts it all into one.
You don't want to do that either. So just go one by one.
Well, and I was going to say too, there's actually some agents, I was a little surprised. They have everything. They like to keep a copy on their desktop. So if you're one of those people, then you'll have the option to do directly from Dotloop or that folder on your desktop every time. So like Rachel Dorian, for their transactions, she has everything in a folder, like religiously. So she'll never use the Dotloop or DocuSign option. She's just going to do it manually from her computer every time because that's what she's used to. So again, doesn't matter how you do it as long as the final executed documents get put into this checklist. So
yes. And same thing, you're gonna not use your green sheet in Dotloop. It won't be accepted. You're gonna come into here and finish through commissions. So any questions on the Dotloop syncing? Any clarification on if you already have a loop and what to do?
because once we just walk through that, I mean, you guys, it's exactly the same as the DocuSign connection, just using Dotloop. So, you know, if it's pretty simple, as far as, you know, if you've been attending the DocuSign stuff, you know, it should be a pretty easy transition to now using Dotloop if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Can you show me where the commissions, how you submit that?
Yes. So we will go ahead and pretend we are, well, this is what you would really do, but I'm pretending to make an offer because this is not real. So the most common question we get is, I can't click on commissions. Yes, because it is grayed out and we have to go through the formalities of creating an offer.
and the reason we have to do this, which is something I recently learned, is because this is where it pulls into your commission request. So it doesn't know what the final sale price was, what day you're finally closing. This is where you're putting in all of that data. So just think about it as just a different step in the process. Don't think of it as two separate things, you know.
Yeah, you're basically setting yourself up to have your commissions activated. And honestly, you're not going to change much in your commissions tab. You're just going to verify, except if you're adding a few more fees, which we'll get into that. But in this case, we're going to pretend that this is not a multiple offer situation. If it was, you could utilize this feature to plug in all the offers and share with your customers to review. You could do that, but I'm going to guess 9 times out of 10, you're just going to plug in one offer. It's going to be likely the final offer, and go from there. Now, I did just have an agent who recently plugged an offer in because everything was supposed to go as planned and it fell through. So in that case, you cannot delete an offer. You're just going to add in the new offer. And once you get that new offer, it's going to push out the old offer. And then your commissions tab, it'll reflect the most recent offer. Any questions there? Okay.
I think that will make more sense once they see what it looks like once you have it in there.
So the first option you have was to name. So we're just going to name this final offer. If you named it wrong on that first pop-up, you can change it here. I'm going to say, yes, today was the offer date, and now we're going to close in 2 weeks. So you're
And
going
that
to
can always be changed too,
Yes.
if you need to.
Yes. So now we're going to go to parties. And by default, it's going to plug in your seller and all their information and the your information as the agent. On this side, all we need is the buyer's name and who is representing that buyer. Joe.
Joe Schmo.
I was trying to spell Schmo, but I was probably spelling.
CHMOE.
That's what I thought. Okay. So once you've done that, you'll be able to go to terms. So for some reason, it always takes me down to the bottom half of this screen. Just make sure you scroll up to see everything. And Megan, if I'm explaining this wrong, feel free to jump in.
Okay.
So you're going to have your cash amount, which is if they're putting any cash down, and then the finance amount. So that's the loan, whatever they're taking out in a loan. And then this will populate the sales price. You cannot move that in there. So if they're not putting any cash down and it's just the final sale price here, you can plug that in. Maybe they're going to put 50 down in cash, and then they're going to finance 2,000. So whatever it is that you like, the math will add up, the breakdown will add up to your final sales price.
So just something real quick, that was absolutely right. But I had an agent who is um, a smart aleck all the time, and she knows it. And she said, well, what does it matter how much cash or finance they're doing? That is technically
A valid statement.
a valid statement as far as we paying, like us paying you, we don't care how much cash or finance. So if you don't know, then it's okay. Just make sure you get that final sale price right. This is more for your data. Same with the percentage of earnest. Technically, all we need to pay you is that final sale price. So right now, she could click next and just go through this whole thing, and she'd be okay to fill out the commission request. I thought that was a very funny observation. I was like, well, technically, you are correct. Like, you could just finish it out. However, the more data you have, the more power in the future you're going to have. So if you have the information, take the 2 seconds to plug in the information. That's what I would say. So.
And the earnest amount is going to be the binder.
Mm-hmm.
So I think most common it's $2,000. I could be wrong, but that's when I've worked with other agents, I've seen mostly it's $2,000. And then all of this, honestly, like I said, it is not required, like Megan said, but you could plug all that in if you wanted. And now that we've filled this out, we're going to go to the agent analysis. Now, this is optional. It's extremely optional. Just a reminder from our lovely Connie, anything that you put in writing holds you legally binding to. So you would rather not get yourself found in a legally bound situation. Do not write anything here.
You are a transaction broker. You represent the transaction. It is nailed in my brain.
So the reason this is here, because like I mentioned before, if you were in a multiple offer situation, KW created an option for you to list all of the offers into one to show your seller, to let them see it. So in that case, you could leverage this. I'm sure there's some really big teams that probably leverage this, but Connie just said, err on the side of caution and don't write anything you don't want to be legally held bound to. So most of the time you're going to skip this.
Yeah.
We probably just advise you to skip it, honestly. That way, no trouble to worry about. So you can see here, now we have an accept, reject, and you can edit all of this here. Now, in order for our commissions tab to come up, we have to accept it. So this is our final offer. I'm saying yes. I feel like I'm on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Is that your final offer?
Final answer.
Yes.
We'll see, and notice how it says change response. So at any point, like Ashley was saying, if, the offer, goes bad, you can change your response and then add your new final offer and accept that new one.
Yeah, because as you can see, the remove offer is here because this is the only offer you have and you've already accepted it. So you can't remove it because then nothing will be in your commission. So you would have to change it, or your best bet would just be to change it, but then you could add another offer if you wanted to keep track of all the offers you were given, but it's more of a formality. You can change your response here. And now we can see that our commissions tab lit up.
Yay!
Yay, now you can get paid. So Renee did point, she emailed me yesterday, so we are going to have to update the PDF because Command made an update to what this looks like. So it's not going to be the same in that training guide that we sent out to you guys. So if this looks a little different from the last time you came on to training, it's because it is different. But it's the same information. It's just laid out differently. So you'll be able to see here, anything highlighted in red is what you're going to need. And it'll also tell you before you submit what is still missing. So we're going to go ahead and plug in that contract date of today, save my changes. And now you have your worksheet. So it's just going to break everything down. It will show your cap status up until this transaction. It will not include this transaction.
Correct.
But other than that, you may have been used to seeing some more options down here. There have been some more payment options here. So if there was another agent being added. And Megan, if you want to give talk more into this.
So this would be for if you are on a team and you are adding an agent that's in our office, and then you would select how many units would be assigned and the agent gross commission. So if you guys are splitting it 50-50, if you guys are splitting it 75-25, that's more for the teams or the partnerships. If you were on a partnership, this is the button that you would use as well.
Yes. I don't know too much about the co-broker payment. I don't think anyone.
Yes. So originally you would add an inside or outside referral, but it looks like they took that button.
They moved it. I'm going to show you where it is.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Then you will not ever use co-broker payment according to Renee. She does not like this button. She wants it to be gone.
But like Megan was saying, with that additional, if you guys wanted to add more fees, you have to click on this edit agent payment, scroll to the bottom, and here's your extra payment options that you can choose. So there was an agent in our office who just closed with a builder. They offered them a 1% bonus. So we clicked on the bonus. We did the math based on the sale price of what the 1% was, put that in here, and you do not need to click split with Market Center because it is already going to go ahead and pull everything out through the seller worksheet for you already. So you don't need to worry about that. But in that example, it's a bonus, transaction fee, inside, outside referral, things like that.
Yeah, so if you have a referral within the office, you're going to want to use that option, not a co-broker payment.
Mm-hmm. So inside referral.
Yep.
And then I know there's been I think a lot of people are unsure where the transaction fee goes. I'm going to guess it's going to go under deduction.
I'll say if you guys have a question of how to code part of this, so Ashley and I are not your MCAs, meaning we do not process any of this data, praise the Lord. So if you guys have a question about, well, how, we can tell you where the buttons are, but we are not the person that's going to tell you, oh, this is classified as a deduction. This is classified as an inside referral, outside referral. Those are things you want to ask your MCA because we want to make their lives as easy as possible so we get our check as easily as possible. So if you have that type of question, please take it to Jana, to Renee, or to Nancy, because they'll give you the best answer. I can guess, but that doesn't mean I'm always right. So definitely, and I'm definitely paying attention as she's answering those questions. So we're learning. But if you want to be triple checking, make sure you're sure, ask your MCAs.
And it never hurts to over communicate in this add note button, which is our next and final thing you're going to have to plug in before you hit that submit button. So first thing, if you want to get paid at the table, this is where you plug everything in. So we're always going to need to know who the title company is that you're closing with. So go ahead and get in the habit of putting in their name, their email, the address, which the more information, the better. You can never be wrong with putting in all the information. Sometimes you just might have their name and email. You can plug that in. And then if you want a DA to be sent, you can type send DA to. And if it's the same email address, maybe there's a different email address within the title company that it's going to get sent to. But you're going to plug all that information in there. And then you can add any other notes in here. So if you're like, hey, I added a transaction fee, I think I put it in the right spot, can you just double check? Or if you just wanted to clarify something on like, hey, I received a 1% bonus, that's why there's a bonus fee. Like, you can never hurt to over communicate here because this is what your MCAs will read and it'll just make the process go a lot smoother when they're not trying to piece everything together and guess,
Yeah. One thing I just want to, can you X out of that, Ash, real quick? So one thing that has happened several times in the past week, because you guys are using the note feature, which is great, but okay, see where her note feature is. Okay, show them where not to put a note up at the top. Yeah, so those notes at the top, those are strictly for your data. Your MCA cannot see those. So please make sure when you're sending your MCA note that you're sending it on the commission request. So we've had a few people that said, oh, I put it in the other note. And Renee was like, what other note? So it took us a second to figure out where they were putting it. But that's happened several times in the past week. So just learn from that and make sure you're putting it on the commission request.
Yep. And that's it. You click submit and it'll let you know that it's been submitted.
And then you get paid.
Yay. So
Hey, can I ask a question real fast?
yeah.
On those notes, can you edit them? So if we're sending notes to people and then we're like, okay, we feel like it's a dumb question and I want to erase it later. Can I do that? Or once that note's in there, it's now part of record for all eternity?
This note, Yvonne, or this note?
Yes.
Okay, so this note is strictly for you.
Okay.
Your customers aren't going to see this. Your,
The MCs don't see that.
the compliance gods are not going to see this.
Yeah.
But this note here, yes, this will be seen. You can edit it and you can remove it if you made a mistake.
Okay.
Well, but
Okay.
once
Yeah,
you
I didn't know
submit it-
that second one there.
Yeah.
What'd you say, Megan?
Once you submit it, though, you cannot edit it unless they reject it. Then if they reject it, you can edit that note.
Yes.
Which also, one thing I realized we forgot to mention, Ash, when you're submitting for compliance, there's also a way to send a message to Jen Murray. So, or Wilma, either one. So where it says add comments in the middle, you can tag them just like you would on Facebook. So Jen or Wilma, either one or both. Yeah, or Connie or Lee. It is always best to over communicate. So if so those people that have a new construction deal going on, I know that it's a whole different compliance list. So this list doesn't really apply. So I highly suggest using that message box to say, hey, new construction, please let me know if I'm missing anything. Contract is here. Addendum blah, 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 is here. Boom.
Yeah.
Always over communicate.
And in the example that I had with the agent in our office, they literally sent them everything in one, like this massive packet with everything in there. Pain in the butt to separate. So in that case, we just clicked under, I think it was either under closed or under contract. We added an item, named it, final closing docs for new construction home with the address, selected the document type. You can again put additional notes here, and then added the file. And then I went ahead and added a comment saying, hey, this is a new construction. Lennar sent everything in one. Just let me know if I'm missing anything.
One thing too that we haven't mentioned, as far as your commission request and your compliance and the status, if anything, like if you get any notifications, those are going to be in the notification bell at the top. And then also you will receive a notification via Kelly on your phone. So you'll see there, yep, Jennifer Murray has left a message.
Yay.
And so it will take you, if you click on it, it takes you to the opportunity and that note. Now the thing is, a lot of people are like, well, I want an email notification. We have heard you. They are working on it. That's something that in the future you will get an email notification as well. So just make sure if you submit something for compliance that you're checking your command, every once in a while and make sure, you're getting all that info.
And you'll see here, once you've submitted for compliance, it'll say a status box will pop up here. It'll say submitted. And then there'll be a little chat icon also there if there's been comments added to that checklist.
Yeah. And just a reminder too, because I know that Ashley and I, are teaching this subject, but we do not handle contract questions. We also don't handle compliance questions as far as, oh, well, they said I need, this document. Just a reminder, we have no clue what's required for what or what's on the contract. We are strictly just the tech people. So make sure if you have any questions and you don't know what a document is, make sure you're asking your compliance people or your brokers.
Or your MCAs about what needs to get uploaded too, just to double check. And also there is an add item button, so it doesn't hurt to over communicate. Like if you are given additional documents and you're unsure if it's supposed to be in there or not, just go ahead and upload it. It's not going to hurt anything. They're going to see what gets uploaded anyways. And, you know, they can leave a comment and say, hey, next time you don't need this, or, you know, thanks for providing this. Because I know one of the things that isn't on here is your, oh my gosh, appraisal, right? Is it the appraisal?
I thought that was under.
You can do your repair request. Why am I drawing a blank on what it is? Yeah, I think
It is the appraisal.
Yeah, you can upload the appraisal if you would like to. And again, that's just for you to keep track of everything. If it's just easier to have it all here. Same thing, you could upload it directly to DocuSign or Dotloop if you wanted to, for the sake of keeping everything together. It's just really at that point, it's just how you're managing where it all goes, if it's additional content. Because here, which I haven't done this in a while, and I don't know if it's going to let me do it. Oh yeah. So right here, there's an export option. So once this closes, you can export the entire transaction into one. So one, whether that's going to go for your files for you to keep, if you like to send a final package to the customer to say, here, hey, here's everything that was involved in this transaction, all the signatures for you to keep. So that's where, like, if you wanted to make sure the appraisal was included and there's some other things in there, you can go ahead and add the items in to make sure when you export, everything's together.
Another use for the add item feature has been, I had this happen with another agent. So the repair receipts, as you guys know, Jen is a stickler about getting all those repair receipts. You have to upload it as a PDF. So say you have multiple receipts to add. That line item will only hold one file. And if you don't have them all in one file, you can add as an item, you can just add, so you can put it under other and just say receipt for blah, 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 receipt for blah, blah, blah. If that's easier, which in this case, he actually got the receipts at 2 separate times. So it was easier for him to just add an item for that second receipt.
Yep. Any questions?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Question about commissions, you know, like the green sheet. When should we submit that? Once you've got the signed deal, when do you want to see that?
I would say follow the same rule of thumb that after inspections and appraisals are completed, you want that commission submitted. That's the reason that our MCAs say that, is that they, during inspections and appraisals, terms can change, including that final sale price, or if you're, you know, buying a warranty or different things like that. So as far as when to submit, I would say after inspections and appraisals are completed, but before you close, if you want to get paid at the table.
I have a question. So if you were going to submit for review, like 3 of these documents, like let's say the contract, the lead-based paint, and the HOA, how do you check that? Like, you used to just be able to check it on Dotloop. You'd have to add a file, is that it? And then
Like Dotloop, and it's going to pull all of your documents over from Dotloop.
and then is there a way to check it though, then to submit to review?
Yeah, so what you're doing, Lindsay, is uploading one file per line item. So you actually are uploading that contract from Dotloop right there. And
Okay.
you'll know that a document has been assigned to that line. So when you do that, it'll show you that there is a document now sitting where the contract goes.
Uh-huh.
And then you would click on submit, and that's how you know it's in there. So yeah, if we just, yeah, that's a good call. Okay, so assign, see how now it says that it is there. So
Okay.
then you can submit for review once you have all of those assigned to the proper line. So I always, this seems really, you know, childish, but that toy that little kids play with, that it's like, okay, the square goes in the square, the circle goes in the circle. It's the same idea. You can name that contract whatever you want as long as you know it's a contract, but you're putting it on that contract line. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah. And so once you add the file, then it's going to automatically be submit for review.
Yep,
Once
that's
you hit that, yeah.
You have to click it, but now it's going to populate that submit.
Everything that's been uploaded. Okay, great. I get it. I'm sorry. It just was
No, it's
confusing.
okay.
No,
And
it's
you'll
a very
notice,
common question.
you'll notice that now our status changed. So now it's open. And if
So
I
the-
would have submitted it, the status is going to change to submit and so forth.
Okay, thanks.
And then you can remove if you accidentally put the wrong thing in the wrong place. Or if you're like me, I love the attach multiple files option because I just work my way down the list and find everything from Dotloop. But
The one thing I don't like about that, though, it drives me nutty, is that the names of the files aren't squished onto one line. So sometimes it's hard to read,
yeah,
you know, where the document starts and ends. But that's the only thing. I do like the attach multiple files.
you can, and I don't know how great this is, but you can start typing. Like I could type.
Oh, cool. I haven't
I
done
could
that.
start searching for it. So,
Yep.
all right. Any other questions?
I have one about the inside and outside referral. Remind me on that. Is inside Keller Williams Atlantic Partners, outside anybody else, or how is that?
Correct.
Okay.
You come here, plug in. See,
So
'cause
you'll
you're gonna,
notice, sorry, go ahead, Ash.
I was gonna say, it looks like you're gonna need their W-9.
Mhm.
So then you can plug all that information in.
So then for an inside referral, it doesn't make you do that because it's someone within your own office. So we have the same tax ID.
I wasn't real clear. You were going, for me, fast on the multiple when you were adding files. You know, if you click on add file, okay, so instead of clicking on the add file over to the right, you're clicking attach multiples.
Yes, which just, allows you to see all the line items in one. You can do it in one sweep and attach them all at the same time. Where this one, you're just adding them one by one. There's no right or wrong. You're still getting the file attached. It's just a preference.
All right, so go back to attach multiple files.
Mhm.
So again, on the left, that's just the compliance list, and you're supposed to click and go find the document to match that. Is that what's going on there?
Exactly.
Correct.
Okay. All right, and you can do any or all of those, and then just hit the attach, and it pulls them into the right spots.
Exactly.
Okay.
You got it.
All right.
Anything else? Hopefully, you guys are getting the hang of all this.
I would say you guys are doing a really good job. To speak for Jack Speech and Amelia, we've been getting a lot of stuff submitted through Command, which I'm sure Southside has too. But we're very happy with how many people are submitting through Command. As far as green sheets, we've only had like 2 submitted past the deadline, which we just have been using that as a training opportunity of training on the new one. Also, though, I will say for Jack Speech, there are still some people that are submitting for compliance through Dotloop. So we'll be setting a hard deadline on when that will end, just to make our compliance people's lives easier, because right now they're checking 2 different systems. So we'll be setting a deadline, at least for our office, which we have not set one yet, so stay tuned for that. But you'll have to submit for compliance through Command. So go ahead and get used to that process. But yeah.
Same with Southside. It's just communicate with us when your deal is closing. If it's like in the next 2 weeks, we're not going to make you redo everything. But just communicate, and we will help you guys. We also understand with the new commissions, we have some really unique situations that come up. So again, just to reach out to your MCA, we will walk through this with you. We'll make sure it all gets added correctly and that you get paid the right way. We can't learn those things if we aren't aware of your very unique situations.
Which there are some very unique situations.
All right. Well, that's all I've got. Anyone else, Megan? I don't know if you had any other things to note.
Nope. Just keep hanging in there, guys. Y'all are doing a great job.
All right. Well, happy Friday, because it is Friday. Most of the time I don't know what day of the week it is anymore. But I hope everyone enjoys their weekend, and thanks for hopping on.
Megan, I got one.